want to talk to Osho, please, because I want to see what you have to say for my event tomorrow. I believe there's some cool shit gonna come through, and I would like to have like a preview, let's say, a preview of it. Whatever that may be, Osho, I know you like specific stuff, but you came to me and you want it. Okay, okay, if you want to be that way. How about you tell me what that salve is to humanity that you were wanting to give them yesterday that you spoke of? He's got another job right now. A lot of what he does, he is someone that is given access to information to share with people when they are seeking that information, what they need to know in order to make more informed decisions navigating their world on the planet. He believes strongly that when people don't have all the information that they need to make a proper decision, they're unable to make a proper decision because it's illogical it's illogical to make a decision when A plus B equals C if you don't have B. So a lot of people are operating under the assumption that they have all the information because largely that comforts them to believe that they have all the information. So they kind of complete that picture, kind of like if you see 3/4 of a picture of a deer, you can gather, oh, that's a deer, but it may hold a detail that is relevant to the entire picture, a lot of which is shown in psychological testing and things like that. He wants people to have the full picture. And so him offering the tin of the salve to coat oneself in is to, I see, be able to salve oneself with that bigger picture that a lot of people expand out from their small tunnel vision into another layer, which causes them fear. But he is saying if you expand it farther beyond the fear, you will see that even bigger picture, which allows the salve to coat you with the knowing that beyond the fear lies this. And that is the C part of A plus B equals C. So when you are living in a space in which you feel surrounded with it's he's showing me a feeling that's interesting. Feeling of, it's not agitation, it's and not anticipation, it's like you're feeling like you're waiting for the shoe to drop, which is anticipation plus something. It's like nervous. There's a nervousness in that state of waiting. And okay, he's showing me that when you a lot of this has to do with experience. And so if you have never experienced a thunderstorm before, it feels like the end of the world is happening. But for those who have experienced a thunderstorm, when you hear the rumbling and the crackling and you see the rain and it's just like a disaster, when all of that is happening, you know it will pass and you'll be fine. Um, for people right now in the quote thunderstorm, they're unable to see that it is fine after the thunderstorm because they've not done this kind of thunderstorm before. But they have, they just don't remember because between lifetimes we go through amnesia to forget and to like play hide and seek again. And so we're under the illusion that the thunderstorm we're in right now is the only reality, beyond which there is a dawn of a new day that brings potentially a rainbow, or your seeds sprout because they've been properly watered. But when you're in that storm, you're unable to see what is coming after because it is terrifying. So he's saying that in order for us as individuals to see beyond this onion layer of the thunderstorm is to instead trust that there is something beyond the thunderstorm that is familiar yet presently unfamiliar because it's too close to us. If you were to like lift yourself above and look in on the situation like a bird from a bird's eye view, you'd be able to note that this there's something beyond this moment. And I'm being shown the metaphor also of the baby crowning when you were talking to a mother in her first labor. She's like never experienced it before, and as she's crowning and she's going into the ring of fire, she is reaching a state of absolute surrender of like, just I'm going to die. Like that's how it feels, is that she believes there is no way to go forward, and that there's no way to undo, there's no way to stop the momentum, there's no way to it feels survive that level of pain. And she surrenders to the unknown of, I don't know what will happen, I cannot live this way, living is not a possibility anymore, I'm definitely going to die, kind of thing. And from that, uh there's the cry of the child and immediate relief, and there's afterbirth, surely, and all of the adjustment of the body back to being a working vessel that is not supporting another life. But it is definitely of greater relief to be freed of that moment of that ring of fire. Um, and it is just beyond, it is beyond the moment of surrender that there is relief. It's beyond the moment of surrender that there is relief. Um, yeah, okay, this is taking me back to the Chaos Temple stuff yesterday. Um, People fighting, the fighting of change, it's the fighting of the allowing, it's the fighting of what comes next. I don't know, and because I don't know, I'm afraid, and because I'm afraid, I will not um, relent and allow, because it's a restriction, it's a pushing away of you can't get hugged if you're pushing away, like you can't, as you're fighting, you can't receive. And so it is a releasing. He's saying like humans are always living in a state of perpetual fear and anxiety about the worst thing that could ever happen. And for a lot of people in society, the worst thing that could ever happen to them is around materials. and possessions and a perceived sense of safety. So the perception of safety is not itself safety. You can have, thank you, you can have the perception that because you have insurance, you are safe. But if the insurance denies your claim, that was never really safety. It was a perception of safety. When the claim is denied, you're then left with the cost of whatever it is. Even though you've paid for the insurance, it is not, in fact, assured that you are, quote, safe, but your mental perspective of it is a big part of it. Because for all the time leading up to the denial of the claim, you believed you were safe, which didn't keep you from experiencing the denial of the claim and eventually that like financial responsibility for whatever it is. It didn't relieve you of that. It just simply gave you the perception of it. So, and then when it happens, you deal with it. And even in and of itself, the issue is immovable. The claim that isn't paid, people live in a state of fear all the time of losing what they have, what they think is important. Their jobs, their homes, their cars, their health, their whatever. When you are able to acknowledge that all of those things are not you, they're not you. The core of you can't be taken from you. It is not that core spark within you cannot be taken away. It can be offered to other things. You can give that spark to things to give those things power over you. The spark itself is not able to leave you without your consent. You are only in a state of fear from the belief that something outside of you can take the you that you're trying to hold on to and attributing and giving and connecting to, quote, things. Those things could be, your mortgage, even the things most precious, your relationships, your children, your pets, the things you love. The fear of separation is the illusion of separation because there is no separateness. Once you reach a certain state of consciousness, you realize that all things are connected all the time. You cannot create or destroy energy. The energy itself exists. It changes form. And when it changes form, the dog that died, that you loved very much when you were a child, the essence of that dog may show up in a llama that you run into at the zoo and you recognize it. Those things that come back and recycle into your life energetically and are recognizable, those things are indeed aspects of that which you have perceived to have lost. Once you connect to the, not just the idea, but the knowing that everything outside of you is in fact a mirror of you, you are no longer bound by the fear of separation because there is no separation. I am in you, you are in me, we are all connected to each other. There is no capacity of me to be separate from the other because I am able to connect to that other at any time. The fear and restriction we live in constantly is only a fear and a restriction because of that perception of separation. When we are no longer separate, when we are no longer afraid, when we relax, when we are no longer closed fist, but we are open armed, we're able to receive instead of protect what we believe is ours that must not be touched. When you allow, when the fear drifts off, there is no chaos to connect to you anymore. Vibrationally, the field is cleared. When you are in fear, you will be met with circumstances that support that fear was necessary and that you were right all along. See, I told you something bad would happen. When people do that, it's because they're living in the fear that something bad will happen, therefore something bad happens, not realizing they were able to manifest the bad thing happening. This is not to be confused. I'm seeing like a fluff coming up about like a back fluff on a dog or a cat of like of well, I didn't want this insert trauma here thing to happen. That was not something I manifested from my own fear. That works differently. Those are, how do I say that gently? Everything is interwoven with everything else in a perfectly orchestrated symphony. And in symphonies, there are tensions that rise and fall to create interest in the symphony, to bring about a beautiful, what's the word? Reconciliation of chaos in the song. Um, it's like there's a lot of disjointed, discord, chaotic notes. There's a name for it. And then when there's like a resolution at the end, it's like a hum of the skin to feel the resolution. The resolution itself could only exist to that degree of satisfaction because of the contrast to the discord. And that is the exploration of discord to come back into unity, consciousness and order. So it's like chaos and order, fear and love. And those are the contrasts. And because the earth is a learning planet, it is a learning planet. It is a planet. Well, it's a library of information. It's a very big university, and so you come here to learn things. And there are fast tracks and slow tracks. And when coming here, there are a lot of contracts that are put together between souls to create their own little miniature microcosmic symphonies of chaos and order and chaos and order and resolution. And when we come into those really fucking awful situations, when we come into those situations, in those situations and of those situations, we don't often immediately understand or see why that would be allowed to happen because of the absolute tragedy that is. There is a, it's all about fucking contrast, keep coming up. So it's the contrast of, speaking for myself, the contrast of sexual violence to distort something like beautiful and sacred that should be experienced with wholeness and safety and reciprocity and gentleness and passion and all the things that creation energy is was intended to be. The absence of those things, and in fact the extreme contrast of those things, to establish a coding around creation energy that is to be feared and then repressed or expelled from experience, then to heal that wound, to heal that darkness connected to something beautiful, to heal that, the contrast of the two then makes that much more beautiful than it would have been had there been no wound. There is a contrast that allows for a greater catharsis and appreciation of that. It is the contrast of the foster child getting his first coat that's brand new from the store that overwhelms him to the fact that he weeps with appreciation, is in contrast to the child who gets a new winter coat every year and thinks nothing of it. It is the contrast that allows for the appreciation of what was not experienced prior. Those contrasts on this earthly plane allow for not just the appreciation of what is then experienced, but as a whole, it accelerates the learning experience for the individual and the soul spark that has decided to incarnate in this way. Thank you, Osho.